This lesson we're going to convert units of measurement, okay? And it's probably not the first time that you've had a look at all of this, but yeah, let's see how we go, all right? So we've got to change units of measurement, including length, area, and volume, okay? So we're focusing mainly on centimeters, meters, millimeters, kilometers, okay? And we're going to do it using flow diagrams, okay? So here we've got millimeters, and the way I like to start it off is like how many millimeters in 1 centimeter, and there's 10. So 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters, which means that to go from here to here, we've got to multiply by 10, okay? So to go from centimeters to millimeters, you've got to multiply by 10 because 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters, all right? So you've got to think about that properly. And the same is true with meters to centimeters, okay? 1 meter is how many centimeters? 100. So what we have to do is we go times by 100. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this over here. So it's a thinking thing. Now also 1 kilometer is how many meters? 1,000. So we're going to multiply by 1,000 to get to the meters. All right, so that's the start of our flow diagram. Now we have to go the other way, and the other way we're just going to do the opposite. All right. So what's the opposite of times 10? It's divided by 10. Opposite of times 100 is divided by 100. And finally, the opposite of times 1,000 is divided by 1,000. Okay, and we have our flow diagram. Now this you can build and make at any time, and then it just keeps you honest every single time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a copy of this, all right, and I'm going to paste it onto the next one. So make sure you write this down in your books, please. This is length, all right? Now, we're going to do the same with area. We're going to use this same thing, except there's one difference, okay? Area is squarea, all right? All right? Which means that all these have to be squared. I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to use green. Which means one major difference. We're not going to multiply by 10. We're going to multiply by 10 squared. We're not going to multiply by 100. We're going to multiply by 100 squared. We're not going to multiply by 1,000. We're going to multiply by 1,000 squared. So a larger number, much bigger number. And the same is down here to the bottom. We're not going to divide by 100. We're going to divide by 100 squared. We're not going to divide by 10. We're going to divide by 10 squared. So remember, area is square area. So that is and write this down. And if I was you, I'd be highlighting these notable differences, okay? 10 squared is a very different number to 10, okay? So just be aware of all that, okay? Now for volume, because we're going to have to do all three, we're going to do the same thing, okay? And see if you can think of the way what did we change in the volume to make it all fit? And if you said, well, we put the squared, so what do we have to do with volume? We have to do the cubed. So these are cubed. So when we're converting, we're not going to multiply by 10. We're going to multiply by 10 cubed. We're not going to multiply by 100. We're going to multiply by 100 cubed. We're not going to multiply by 1,000. We're going to multiply by 1,000 cubed. And the same thing goes here. All right. Now, there is one length, so I'm going to go back to here that I want to work with. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to resize this. I'm going to make it smaller and move it up here. Okay. And don't worry about that for the moment. And I'm going to say converting mass. All right, so write this down after you've done volume. And in mass, we've got these things, all right? We've got kilogram, all right? We've got tons. And before kilogram, we have grams. And before grams, we have milligrams. Now, the thing with this is that we're going to have to do a flow diagram, but it's different because everything is by 1,000, all right? So there's 1,000 milligrams in a gram, so I'm going to multiply by 1,000. And there's 1,000 grams in a kilo. Actually, kilo means 1,000. All right, that's what it means. But so we're going to multiply by 1,000. Make sure you write this down in a different place. And there's 1,000 kilograms in 1 ton. All right, which means that the opposite is true. If we're going to do the flow diagram from this side onwards, we're going to go here. All right. So that's how we're going to convert maths. Now, the difference with mass is that it's consistent. It's all 1,000. Okay. With our normal units of measurement of meters, centimeters, millimeters, all those things, they change by a factor of 10. Okay. So make sure you write this down. Okay, let's do some questions. All right. Example. Convert the following units to the units in brackets. So 1 meter to centimeters. Well, we go here. I'm going to paste that on somewhere. I'm going to paste this on so we can see it. Let's put it here. And I'm just going to remind you what they all are. This is millimeters, this is centimeters, this is meters, and this is kilometers. Okay? So to go from 1 meter to a centimeter, all right, so I have to go here. It says times by 100, so we're going to times 1 by 100, so 1 times 100, and it equals 100 centimeters. Now, many of you would have gone, yeah, I actually knew that. Fair enough. And I'm like, yeah, that's sweet, but I'm just trying to teach you this way. Now, we're going to go 1 centimeter to millimeters. So we go centimeters to millimeters is this way. So we're going to multiply by 10. So 1 times 10. So equals 10 mil. Now, many of you would know that as well. Now, let's try this one. 8 millimeters to meters. So we're going to go from here to here. I'm going to use a different color. There to there. So it means we have to follow this. So we're going to go 8 divided by 10, and then we're going to get an answer, and we're going to divide by 100. Okay? So we can just write it like that. And I'm doing it here in my calculator, and I get 0.008, and our new units is meters. All right, so 8 millimeters is 0.08 millimeters. Okay. All right, let's see if you can do the next one. All right, I'm going to press pause and see if you can do the next one. Okay, so the next one's this one. All right, hopefully you've done it. Now I'm going to do it. So we're going to go from kilometers to centimeters. So I'm going to go from here to here. So the pathway I have to take is this one and this one. So I can go 8 times 1,000 is the first one that we're doing. Okay. Times 100. And I will get 8 kilometers is how much in centimeters? So I'm going to go 8 times 1,000 times 100. Okay. Which equals 800,000 centimeters. That's a lot of centimeters. Okay. Now, one thing I want to point out, if you don't want to do the double times here, you can just, instead of writing those 2 downs, and I'm not going to do it this way, I'm going to go 1 and count all the zeros. So there's 5 zeros. and you'll get the same answer. All right, so just be aware of that you can do it that way as well. So I'm going to go 8 times 1 with 5 zeros, and you should get the same answer. Okay, now for the other two, what we're going to do is that 1 meter in centimeters squared, remember these are squared, is that I'm not multiplying by 100 anymore. I'm going to multiply by 100 squared, which gives us a different answer. So go 1 times 100 squared, and it gives us 10,000. The next one, we're going to do the same thing, millimeters to meters. So I'm going to go 4 times 10 squared times 100. Oh, I'm doing it the wrong way. We're going this way. All right. Which means I'm going to go 4 divided by 10 squared, because it's squarea, divided by 100 squared. So let's just do this in a calculator. 4 divided by 10 squared, divided by 100 squared. And we get some really, really small number. Oh, I forgot to do this. This centimeters squared is our new unit. 4 meters squared. All right, let's see if you can do the last two cube ones. I'm going to quickly do it in my calculator. I'm not going to explain it because it's the same sort of thing. And I'm just going to write it down. Good luck. Just remember, cubed is something else. And then from kilometers to centimeters, let's see if you know what I'm doing. And I'm going to do it 1 times 1 cubed. And you get some really big number. I got 8 times 10 to the power of 15, which is, we're going to explain that in another lesson, and it's centimeters cubed, which essentially means that 8 kilometers cubed is a lot of centimeters cubed. Hopefully that makes sense, but that's the end of this lesson. Peace out.